January was easy. January had the motivation, January had the new community, January had the excitement, but February has been tough. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Amanda here. I'm talking about my low buy year check-in, and so far February has had some moments of, I wouldn't say weakness, but definite moments of realizing that this is going to be a change and for the better, but at the same time, it's not going to be exactly a stroll in the park. So talking about low buy year is basically a big new change that I've welcomed into my life. And if you guys are new to this channel, I have set my low buy year rules. That's in a separate video and I will link that right above. But for February, I was basically applying those rules. Now, there were moments where I figured out again, oh yeah, that's when you shop. You shop sometimes when you're bored, you shop when you're feeling emotional. I don't know about you guys, but this February, like there were moments inside the beginning of the month where I was like going through it. I would look at Scott and be like, oh my God, I could cry at any moment, and I did. I was looking at where the moon was, I was looking at what was going on in my life, hormonally, all these things. I don't know if you were going through this too. It's been like quite a cloudy February here in the Toronto area. And if you have also been dealing with that, it could just be honestly the lack of sun. Really looking forward to the spring. But nonetheless, it has been a little bit tough, and that has left me in my normal knee-jerk reaction, because when it comes to addictive properties, that's what we go to. Right? Like whether it be food, whether it be substance, whether it be shopping, whether it be gambling, like whatever it is. And not saying that I'm addicted to shopping, but I definitely prefer it over a lot of other things. And I find it to be a bit of an emotional crutch, as well as an emotional crutch when it comes to celebrating things too. I would go shopping. So this is my low buy check-in for February. And I actually think I've done quite a good job overcoming some of these urges. Listening to some podcasts when it comes to, you know, changing your life and happiness, and even like using your phone less. That's an addiction that I'm sure a lot of us can even relate to this day and year, this day and age, is neurons that fire together, wire together. So if you are feeling emotional and your knee-jerk reaction is to go to the mall, like you are probably likely to do that if you aren't aware of the fact that it's not necessarily a great way to curb emotions, because your brain is literally telling you that that's what you do, and that's what will give you a little bit of a dopamine dump. So I have a bit of a story for you. The other day, I went out, I had an actual Sunday off. I work all the time on weekends, so for me to have a Sunday off, this is rare. So I ended up having brunch with some friends, Scott and then our other best friends. And then as well, I had dinner with two of my other super close friends. And it was at a restaurant that was attached to a mall. Now, funny enough, it was a long weekend, and this was a Sunday too. So the mall closes at 6, but we completely forgot that. So we ended up going for dinner at 5, having dinner, really enjoying it. It was probably an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and a half. And then after that, we were all talking about some new products. I was like mentioning that I want to try soap brows and all this stuff, been doing a lot of research. And we were all really excited to potentially like go to Sephora together. So we left dinner and we walked down to the mall, and I started feeling like all of these butterflies. Like I was like creating some dopamine in the body, and I was like getting excited to be in the mall in like a positive reinforcing hormonal way. And I didn't really realize it until this happened. It was now past 6, so the mall was closed. So as soon as we walked in, we were all like jacked the heck up to go into the mall. And then we realized that all the stores were closed. And that's when the cortisol came in, and I was like, oh, so bummed. But at the same time, I reflected back on that and I was like, wow, so much of my emotional brain was attached to that. And I was like feeling myself letting go of the rules that I had set myself earlier that month. Like it wasn't just a factor of it's okay to go shopping with your friends if you're hanging out. Like I am so for that. But the problem with this lied in me walking in the mall and feeling that extreme disappointment because I wasn't able to go shopping. And that's when I realized, oof, February is the moment that some of these goals start to get a little bit more real, and then coming back to reassessing, why are we doing this? What's important about this? And this isn't just like a low buy year in my mind. This is actually changing my lifestyle and the way that I live my life. So in that moment, I was able to realize, yep, we still got a lot of work to do on these neurons that are firing together. But in a good hindsight, the universe was kind of like, girl, don't do that. The mall is closed today. So I started reflecting back on a couple of things. I have been able to save more money than I have in a really long time. Scott and I were able to actually make a conscious purchase on some podcast equipment that we were really excited about doing. And that was awesome too, because saving that money was able to kind of like put it into a business, put it into a project versus put it into clothing that might go out of style the next year. Because remember, if you have watched that rule video I set out, one of the rules is no trends. So that's been really reaffirming. And the other one is like realizing this is gonna be a detox, and that's okay. So next up in my reassessment, when I really looked back at this month, one thing that I did to curb the appeal of going emotional shopping to celebrate or even to curb the sadness that I had been feeling earlier this month was I set some new challenges. So by this, I mean, and I actually had so much fun with this, you guys, like please do this or try it, even if you're not in a low buy year, which you likely are if you're watching this video. But my challenge was to find a piece of clothing in my wardrobe that I have not worn for a long time and to work it into my weekly wardrobe. Now, this sounds like something that it's like, duh. I mean, you should just wear all of the things in your wardrobe, but I think all of us can probably put our hand up that we have some things in our wardrobe that we don't really wear that often. And to the point even saying there's probably a good chunk of us who have some things in our wardrobe that still have the tags on it. Is that you? Because that is me. Like maybe one or two things. So taking those things out of my wardrobe, working them back into it, has actually been quite invigorating, and it's been really fun. And I found this one blue sweater the other day that I hadn't worn in a really long time, and I actually had the feeling of being like, oh my gosh, I actually love this sweater. And I'll cut to my Instagram story here because during that day I did a little Instagram story. Hi friends, first of all, you're so amazing. Thank you so much for entering into my contest. The reason why I'm hopping on here though is not because of that. The reason why is because I found this beautiful sweater in my closet. Going through this low buy kind of mentality, trying to figure out how to stop shopping and just embrace what I have has made me remember the feeling of holding up a garment of when I first purchased it, and I was so excited about it when I first purchased this sweater, and it's from Aritzia, and I believe that they still have this style there in different colors. I remember being so proud and like making a YouTube video on my haul and all this stuff, and then since then, like this season, this fall, I haven't really worn it that much, and just putting it on today, I was reminded of how much I love it. So my challenge to you guys today is one, enter my contest. Lol, that's not actually what I was on here to say. Oh my God, Amanda, stop. My challenge to you today is to find something in your wardrobe that you haven't worn in a while and bring it back into the front. Wear it, try to style it like a few different ways, and just try to think of the moment and that feeling that you had when you first purchased it. Because I remember being très excited. So yeah. So after rediscovering that sweater, for example, I wore it to work the other day and I got a compliment on it, and my mind was kind of blown that I had forgotten how valuable I found this item when I first purchased it and how I loved it so much, and I wore it so much, and then it just disappeared from my mind because it became something that I had acquired, and again, not something that I desired anymore. And that was one of the big things that I realized when I was setting my rules in January. So I challenge you to rediscover something in your wardrobe, maybe that you haven't worn in a really long time, and just move it to the front. Like my wardrobe at home, when I was living at my parents' house, it had a little bit of a piece that wasn't a part of the doors, like kind of you could shove things back there. And my challenge was always to try to take those things and move it back to the front, because there's like this horse blinder vision when it comes to our wardrobe sometimes, where we only stick in this one lane and we have all of these other options. So that has been really cool to discover. I have a couple of more notes here, a couple of other things that I was noticing. I also started having some conversations with friends and realizing that I'm definitely not the only person that feels the need to go shopping when we have a trip planned, when there's an event, when there's something coming up, when it's like emotional, when I'm sad, when I feel like I need to fill time, when I'm bored. That has been a really great conversation to open up with friends, because at the end of the day, this is something that would be really amazing if we could all start thinking more about conscious living and making purchases that are meaningful. So that's been something that I've been really loving, is having those conversations with friends and realizing that they are also dealing with pretty much the exact same thing. Like, so often I've had a friend say, yes, I don't know why I feel the need to do that. And to the point, them saying, I have a lot of weddings coming up this year and I'm thinking more about borrowing dresses and things like that, because this culture that we have, this content creating culture, and as well this comparison culture that we live in, keeping up with the Joneses, that I think we should almost change to keeping up with the Jenners, is that we feel like we need something new, because if we already have a photo in that item, it's no longer as coveted as it was before. And unearthing that realization that, first of all, no one knows exactly what you own. No one is looking at you as much as you think that they are, and you're not thought of as much as you think that you are. And that's also a really good realization when it comes to feeling self-conscious that I've been really trying to battle with as well, is people aren't thinking of me as much as I think they are thinking of me, which is good and harsh, but positive when you really look at the backing of it. But if you think that you need to buy a new item just because you already have a photo in the one, there is something that needs to be reassessed here. And that's something that rediscovering things in my closet and holding them up, this sounds so cheesy, but holding them up, remembering how much it was when I purchased it, and then trying to think about the memory of me at the cash register. I have this one long Babaton sweater. I think it was $160, which is a lot of money. And I remember purchasing it and having such an adrenaline rush, such a dopamine dump, and thinking, oh my gosh, I love this sweater so much. I'm so glad I have it. I've wanted it for so long. And then I automatically just forgot that it was in my closet. I took it out of my closet the other day and I was holding it and just thinking about that moment when I was at the cash register, and it really helped me kind of reassess the value in that item and pull it out and feel honored to own it, versus like it's now just taking up space in my closet. So the last couple things I want to talk to you about is time. I have found that instead of spending my time shopping or looking online or anything like that, I have now started to think about new projects I can do, new things that I can learn, new friends that I can connect with, old friends that I can connect with, going to the gym, things like that. So that's been a positive thing that's come out of February, reflecting back on my low buy year. And realizing as well, it's not a no buy year. There are some purchases that I have made that I'm going to cover in a future video, where I just basically said, this is what I bought in February, and I can really look back on that amount and that total and stay a little bit accountable and continue to build this community here. And just realizing that this whole process has forced me to look inside of myself and realize these things and start to save more and tell my money where it's going versus just wondering where it went. That has been another kind of cool thing, like watching the savings account grow. Now, this is the pitfall that I am thinking about that I could fall into, that I just want to call out right away, is that now that I am seeing this savings account grow, I start dreaming about where I could spend it versus just keeping it in savings. Or these are the moments when you start to see a little nest egg grow, you can become frivolous on just being like, yeah, for sure I can do that, for sure I can spend that. And so my challenge to myself and what I want to see come out of March's low buy is start budgeting and start building those budgets out and sharing that with you guys as well, and learning from videos in this community about budgeting. And whenever I purchase something, whether that be takeout food, to camera equipment, to clothing, to beauty, to whatever it is, even groceries, setting a list, is referring back to that budget. And then only living within a certain means so that I can grow for savings wise. Another exciting thing that I want to do, and let me know if you guys want to see in the comments below, but I think I'm still going to do it no matter what, because I think it's a good idea, is that there are some things that I really do want to buy. I've reflected on this in a separate video. I really want to buy some very structured, nice, well-fitting, white-collared shirts. I think those go really, really far in your wardrobe. You can mix and match those in so many ways. And as well, I want to buy a really nice, well-fitting, can last me a long time leather jacket. So I am going to be looking for those items, creating videos, and showing you guys the whole process of trying on a ton, looking at what they're made of, seeing where they're sourced from, all of these things, and then breaking it down to where the purchase was actually made. And I think that those are all kind of referring back to the science part of me, wanting to see that analytical brain, and then as well mix it in with the creative brain side. So with that being said, this was my February low buy check-in. Let me know how you guys are doing emotionally, mentally, if you're on your low buy as well. And just sitting down and having an honest conversation with you as well is one of those things that kind of kicks you back into gear. One last thing that I will leave you with is unsubscribing from people who maybe, or muting as well, you don't have to fully unsubscribe, but who make you really want to make those big purchases until you've got that mental brain under control, I guess. So yeah. Watching all of the videos in this community has been really helpful. We will see you guys in my next video. This has just been a little bit of a chatter video. The other ones will be a bit more analytical when it comes to low by year shopping and finding out what things are made of. But this check-in was basically just for me. I love you guys, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye. So, in through this month, discovering more of my closet and discovering that I like this turtleneck sweater thing. I don't care what you guys haters say. I've been like figuring out different ways to wear my clothing, and the easiest thing to do is just to match things that are the same color. Like back to grade school when you would just be wearing matching everything. So today Scotty and I are going to the Survivor premiere party with our friend Stu and Jess. It's a party of 4, by the way, so don't think you're missing out too much, but you are. I haven't seen Survivor since like season 1, and I remember like being a kid watching it. So super cozy in my neutral wear. Excited to go. I'll probably be snapping that because you guys need to see what Survivor is happening.